Jesus told his disciples that he had much, much more to tell them, but they could not bear it. And this came out of his frustration of them not understanding the gravity of what he had to teach in a very, very short time period. He had 3 years to teach before he was put to death. And in that 3 years, it was difficult for even his disciples to comprehend everything that he had to say about the reason that we're here, what the afterlife is like, why we are here, why is there so much suffering in this world, what is to happen with the billions and billions of people who will come to live on this world. And so what Jesus did is he promised not just his disciples, but he promised us all to send the Spirit of truth to explain everything in great detail, to explain all the truth. This wasn't just the spirits who came at Pentecost. This was just a first example of what the Spirit of truth could do, to show that there is a spiritual world. What actually happened over time, since Jesus' death, since the death of his disciples, there have been spirits of truth who have come to this world to fulfill that promise of Jesus, to teach all the truth. The first appearance of the Spirit of truth was in the 2nd century. His name was Origen of Alexandria. Origen was an extraordinary teacher. He taught during the day, he wrote during the night, and in his 50 years of teaching, he produced over 6,000 works that explained in great detail everything that Jesus promised. It explained the reason why we're here. It explained the fall of the angels. It explained the restoration of the fallen. It explained the reason for pain and suffering. But what happened to that enormous work of Origen? For 300 years, that teaching was taught. It was taught to the humble peoples. But after 300 years, it was destroyed by the Emperor of Rome of Justinian, who came and destroyed the whole truth and replaced it with political rhetoric, with the politics of control, of controlling the masses. Following that, we ended up with the Dark Ages, the ages where this hatred dominated history, and fear, the fear of the normal people, the fear of the church, the fear of the leaders, the fear of eternal damnation, the threat of the Inquisition. And then came the Reformation of the church, which was just a start to reform all that had been done wrong. But even at the Reformation, there was not this promise of Jesus upheld, the promise to explain all the truth. It really wasn't until the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, that the Spirit of truth was able to start speaking again. the church had inhibited it all those years. They called it burning the witches, burning the heretics. Because yes, the truth is heresy. It is heresy against the church, against the rulers. It's heresy to say that all men are created equal and all women are created equal to men. That was heresy for such a long, long time. Now we're in a period of freedom of expression and freedom of thought, and the church doesn't dominate our thought, or regimes do not dominate our thought. And we can think that God created us all equally, and God wants all of us, regardless of the religion that they were born into, to return to Him. He wants us to thrive. He wants us to learn the truth. And this truth takes many generations to learn. It takes many lifetimes to learn. To learn that we are the fallen that is spoken of in the Bible. That we rejected Jesus and we were cast out of heaven. And the only way for us to get back to heaven is by becoming a true believer in Jesus. But that doesn't happen in one lifetime. This born-again rhetoric doesn't cut it. We don't just have to believe in Jesus. We have to walk in His footsteps. We need to become humble. We need to love our neighbors. We need to love our enemies. And we need to love them because they too are our spiritual brothers and sisters. We are all one family that God created through Jesus. And He came to restore His family. It doesn't seem that way in the world we live in today, but that's the unbearable truth that Jesus' disciples could not understand, that they too were untrue to Jesus, and they too were cast out of heaven. That is the unbearable truth that needs to find its way into the light again. And in a period of enlightenment that we're in, maybe that can happen. Maybe now is a time when this enlightenment can come to humanity, and humanity can start loving their enemies and stopping the wars that exist in this world.